It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hey everyone, it's Robin and our special guest, Angelique Roche, coming to you live from the Time Vortex. Bayana and Connie are off fighting the Daleks, but should hopefully be back in time for next episode. Today we're discussing episode 7 of Doctor Who, season 10, The Pyramid at the End of the World. In this episode, the Doctor is president of Earth, Bill gets a second or a first date with Penny, and Nardole's dead, maybe? So before we start off, I'd like to introduce our special Roll Dog co-host who came in to save the day so you wouldn't be talking to me by myself or listening to me alone. Angelique.
Hi.
How's it going? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your Who credentials, which are extensive?
I have Who credentials. That's so great. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I live in New York. I am a writer. I write about Doctor Who fan culture, less of fanfic, but more of really talking about how Doctor Who intersects with a lot of the societal issues we deal with, as well as how Doctor Who connects people together, which is amazing. I frequently podcast over on a couple of my friends' Who podcasts, doing Who commentary, mostly on Companions. And I'm old school, new school Who. So I started watching Who when I was 9. Done the gambit, and then didn't get into the reboot until the reboot had been out for at least 2 years, and all of Torchwood was over. But have now found my way and back in the fold.
Back in it. Awesome. So you can give us some more historical things, because I've seen a handful of classic Who. Yeah, it was never anything that I really got into, and I didn't really know about Who until I think the second or the start of the third New Who series with Tennant, and I back in the days when it was on Netflix, I binged and then caught up. So now you got to be on Amazon Prime or whatever they're trying to do.
Well, BBC has their own app.
Awesome.
They did the CW thing. So you can actually do the BBC app, put it on your phone, stream it onto the computer now. I've been testing it out a little bit because of class. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, new Who and old Who. It's interesting what the writers have done a good job in paying homage to old Who a lot. A lot of folks don't know, Doctor Who, the first producer of Doctor Who was a woman. It was the first woman-produced show on the BBC. But BBC back in the day used to re-record over tapes, and people would leave with entire episodes of Who. So we can only know so much about old Who if we didn't watch it in person.
In the first run.
But also because old Who is problematic as hell. It's just problematic.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's very hard to, I think, if you start it with New Who and then you're I need to get some more historical perspective. One, it's hard to find a lot of those episodes, but then two, I think the structure is different too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go in kind of these seasons in the way that we're used to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's hard to kind of get into that thing, and then you do get into something, and then it's oh, well, we don't have any more episodes of that one. It's lost in the ether, or they find
the audio,
one half
recording.
Yeah, so there's that they found an episode arc in Iceland or something, some random place, and they ended up making a cartoon to go along with the audio that they were able to salvage, because there was just so that's the legacy of classic Who for us new Whovians.
Which is interesting, because the digital digital is getting crazy. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we're here to dive into the pyramid at the end of the world. I keep wanting to say the end of the world, which I think is like a Neil Gaiman thing, the lake at the end of the world. I don't know.
I think they chose Earth on purpose, but there's just a lot to this episode. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's so much. So this is the second part of our first, is it our first? I think it's our first multi-part storyline of the season, and this is going to be a 3-parter. So we have a lot. And I want to say that I'm trying to give this episode some leeway because it is that middle gap where we learned a lot of stuff in the first episode. We learn a bit more, but there's not, at least from my viewing, I'm just as confused, maybe even more confused than I was at the end of the first part. Plus, I felt like there wasn't really, I felt like it just ended. I have a lot more questions.
There's so many good things and bad things. I hear it coming out. You're like, I want to look at the good, but
then I also don't want to be like, that was bad, because I am cognizant that there's one more episode that maybe.
Can you not say it was bad?
Internal optimism.
Can you not say it was bad?
We can say whatever.
I was like, because I normally don't say episodes are bad. So to be very clear, I'm the person who liked The Doctor's Daughter. Like, I like a lot of the weird, wacky, out the box stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Moffat came back to write.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that this episode was a bad episode. If it was a standalone, I would be dragging this thing to hell. But I'm trying to be like, maybe it's one of those like setup episodes. And so on its own, it's not satisfying at all. There are a lot of issues with it. But in the full story arc, once we get to next week, it will make sense. And it's kind of the glue that holds the first and third episode together. I'm trying to be diplomatic.
So you're like me. Like, I'm right now, I was like, okay, so where's the other shoe? I really need a shoe to drop. Because let's be real. So, like, one, like, taking a step back, there's a little person in the episode. So I have to be very real. It's like, I was very worried that when Stephen Moffat was writing this, I was like, okay, word, you just finished watching The Last of Sherlock. Don't think things. Don't, just remember this is Moffat and who, not Moffat and Sherlock. So I was really excited about the way this was written. I will take that back. Like, the respect that was given to the little person.
I will also say that Moffat,
oh, go ahead.
I would also say that Moffat got a co-writer. So
somebody definitely put some guardrails on Moffat. I will absolutely and completely say that. And I gotta say, like, look, there are more women involved in the process now who you can absolutely tell by the way everything's coming out, the themes that are going on. Some stuff has been problematic. I was having a conversation on Reality Bomb about Bill using perving way too much in the first episode, which is like really awkward. But like, I really think this episode was a lot, but not enough. Like, I totally get where we're going with the end of the world. I love the fact that it was genetically modified bacteria that we're looking at. I think it's really fun and really smart. I like the whole distraction thing. I really do kind of love that. As an attorney too, as well though, I'm like, what does this consent shit mean though? Like, what kind of consent? Like, is it unique consent?
Right.
Like, once one person gets consent, does the rest of the world acquiesce to this?
That was my biggest thing. It was like, oh, are you? Because I think they said to the first, the president of the UN, like, are you allowed to consent? And then they said it again, and then they just told Bill, like, as a representative for the doctor, you can consent. And I was like, in our current political climate, if the president of the United States consented, I'd be like, I'm only going to speak for me.
Well, I also think the trick of the day at that point is that they had already acquiesced their power to the president of the earth, who is the doctor. Mm-hmm. Like, so any of them giving their consent, I was like, that's shoddy consent. I'm not sure.
Right, because the president of Earth outranks all of you, apparently.
Just saying. But yeah, I mean, besides
I
that,
also have issues with the Doctor being the president of the Earth. I mean, I know that we are not worldwide a democracy, but like, y'all just gonna make this alien man
yep, because
president of the Earth?
they feel like he is the only one who would not have a bias at the end of the day about what would
That's
happen. Because that was the whole point
true.
of making him president of the earth. It's the whole point of making him part of UNIT. Like, they understood
Yeah.
it was better to have him as a friend than a foe, one. Two, at the end of the day, everybody's going to do, like, list, like, the writing of what happened. And it was also kind of, and I'll say this first, and I'll say was kind of in the writing, was very happy and very against it about the way they wrote the military folks. I needed them to get better
Mm-hmm.
uniforms, but the way they wrote the military folks, um, they really were about how do we fight another day. They came from that perspective. But why'd you have to make the dude from America so selfish though? I don't understand. Like, are
You're
we?
right.
Is that how we really sound in the UK? Because he was
Yeah.
like,
That's how.
I want to live and
Yeah.
fight.
That's how we sound. That's how we sound.
But in a bright, shining moment in the rest of the show, Penny, who seemed to be the only smart one of the bunch.
Can we just shout out Penny twice? Because last episode she was like, "I'm sorry, is that the Pope? I'm sorry, are there a bunch of men just to? I got to go. I'm out. Peace, deuces. You figure this ain't got nothing to do with me.
This ain't my life. It's not my life.
Reboot. Bill gets this big pep talk. She's not too good for you. You deserve everything." Penny's sitting there like, "I'm sorry, I got to be again."
But she was very,
Whole new world.
she's making some traction on this though. Like last time she's like, I'm out. This time she's like, do you mind if I call an Uber? Because you got to see a different reaction. Like the first reaction was like, yo, you cute,
Right.
You're not that cute. This reaction was like, okay, you're cute. You try to be honest with me. I didn't believe you, but this is too much. But I don't want to really like make you mad because I don't
want to burn bridges.
Like I may want to see you again. And this is the Secretary General of the UN. So obviously there's something I didn't know about you. And I need to keep this door open. So do you mind if I call an Uber?
Can we talk about this when your life seems a little less hectic?
You just seem a little busy.
Revisit
And I don't want to be on this adventure with you.
Penny is so who I want to be. I'm not going to say she's me, but she is definitely who I want to be, which is like, let's survey the situation. And no, I got to go. This isn't.
Like, she took a second. Like, she let it all happen. She watched it happen. She saw it unfold. She put her hands on the table. Like, she's like, look, I know how this goes. Like, I'm not trying to get shot tonight. Nope.
I got finals.
Also, how does everybody know who the Doctor's new companion is? Because we like this has happened several times. They just pick up the companion. Like they picked up Donna, they picked up Martha.
Yeah,
they just pick up companions, and they just.
I mean, I feel like they're definitely surveilling the Doctor. Like they keep tabs on him when they can, and so I'm thinking like when the whole eating of the house happened, that went down on Earth.
Word.
So they could have, put two and two together. And then when she became a companion, that started at the university. And I mean, she's his tutor, or he's her tutor as well. So you start to just see.
Word.
I don't know. I feel like.
I think it's also interesting because.
It might stick bugging everywhere with that.
How do you know at what time who is whose companion though? Because that's also anyway. Let's not get into that.
That's too much. That's how we were trying to do that last episode when Nardole came and explained to us that my fave River is problematic and brought him into our life.
But can we also talk about where the journal came from?
That's what we were saying. That's what we were saying. But how did he get the journal though? How did he get the journal? The crux of Doctor Who sometimes is like, let's just move past it because we can do this all day and we will never get any closer to an answer.
Ever. I feel like
the answer that
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the answer that I kind of accept is that she gave him the journal and then went back into her own time stream and got it from somewhere else. The timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Nordal, that's a whole nother conversation though for this episode, right? Because he's like, we leave him on the floor of the TARDIS like half dying because he's really not human, but he hasn't turned into sludge.
Right. Because he's got human lungs because they were cheaper, which is rude. Doctor.
Rude.
I'm sure that there's another species whose lungs are cheaper than ours.
Rude.
He was like, I got him on a discount. Maybe they were smoker's lungs. I don't know. But the rest of him is not fully human. But what is Nardole? Why is he here? There's just some Nardole questions about.
Well, one, Peter Capaldi really just likes working with that actor. They've done a lot of work together. They're really funny together. With this whole little Mutt and Jeff thing.
Yeah.
I would like the chicken before the egg, right? Like, was the doctor going to be blind before they decided to have Nordole, or did they write that into the script so it felt less forced and cumbersome to have him there?
Right, because before the doctor was blind, he just was useless. Like, he was just there and taking away precious Bill screen time.
Well, I think he's also being a watchdog. He's being a watchdog.
Right. But he's also, like I talked about before, he's bad at it. Like, either he doesn't know the doctor well enough or he's not quick enough on the uptake. But, like, to nag the doctor is not going to work. To, like, tell him what he can and can't do is never going to work. Like, the doctor told you, oh, this thing is vital to the TARDIS running. And then Nardole took it out and he was like, of course I lied to you. I lie to everyone. The doctor lies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he is like, you have to, like, the doctor is going to do what he wants to do unless you can figure out a smart way to distract him with a bigger mystery or a more urgent something. But to put your foot down and be like, you're not leaving the planet, like, that's not going to work. So even though his job is to be a watchdog, he's not very great at it, I don't think.
He did have some success in getting them not to kill Missy.
That's true. And that was the other thing, is like, where I really liked the back and forth. It very much confused me in the timeline last week, but I really needed Missy or something to kind of tie these two together. Because beyond the zombie corpse monk people, it felt like a completely different episode.
Yeah,
like, it didn't.
The writer. Again, the writing is something that I am working on embracing. I felt like all the episodes before that episode were so good, like so good. Like, the season was starting off really well. I'm very like upbeat about it. I think, we had, and I talked about this at the beginning of the season when we were talking about our predictions for Bill and how the season was going to go. And I was like, look, I think she's going to be great. I think she's going to be amazing. I think Pearl Mackie is very talented. I own half her wardrobe. But, at the end of the day, I'm working on it. Right. We had severe questions about Nardole and him getting in the middle of screen time. Like, look, I get it. Jack Harkness and Martha. I get, Mickey and Rose. Like, I understand the tin dog, right? Jack Harkness was nobody's tin dog, just to be very clear. But I get there being this tool, this device that helps out. I don't understand what's going on with him, and maybe his lungs are just going to sludge and the rest of him is going to be fine. Because also, let's talk about the fact that the doctor just walked in and was like, oh, this genetically modified disease is not for me. I'm not human.
Right. And, like, just knew it, too. Like, I felt like he didn't do any, like, kind of testing or whatever. He was just like, I'm good. Nardole, you got human lungs. You might want to step away.
No piece of celery, nothing. He was just like, I'm good. I'm not going to die.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. I do kind of love that this is the episode that happens on, and I know that they probably don't do like Memorial Day weekend, but that it happens on a holiday weekend here. And like the reason why we're in such trouble is because Homeboy came to work with a hangover. And like if you work in an office building, fine, power through. But if you're working with something that could kill the earth, I'm gonna need you to be firing on all cylinders. I'm gonna need you to take that sick day and get somebody else in there who's going to remember to close the damn door, to like just do the bare minimum, not fall asleep at their desk. Like when it started, I was like, oh, they're working at like a biochemical, like GMO place, okay. But then when it was like, oh, in a year, the earth is dead. I'm like, so you just couldn't have called in sick that one time. There are big chunks about this episode that I have strong feelings about, but because it is the second in a 3-parter, I'm trying to remember that like, even when you think about like trilogies and books and like things like that, the second one is always weak because it has to kind of wrap up the first half and set you up for the big ending. And so a lot of it is filler, and a lot of it is also like information that in the moment doesn't mean anything but comes back and it's like, oh my god, that was amazing, and the payoff is delayed. So I'm trying to give it that, but I would definitely say so far episode 7 is my least favorite episode of a very strong series. What do you think?
It's been a great series. I was also cautiously optimistic. I'm always cautiously optimistic when Moffat is writing, but
you're like our co-host Connie is our Moffat like, well, Moffat wrote this episode. Like,
it's real. It's a real thing. Because I think who has made some like light year jumps on doing a lot of feminist, societal, political commentary. You've got a little person who's a main character who they don't make awful bad jokes. Like it was absolutely, it's absolutely come light years where it's come out of that very dark, which don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Moffat's writing for a long time, but people need to take turns and someone else needs to play in the sandbox. So that being said, I need the other shoe to drop. I wasn't exactly excited about this episode. And I look at episodes from 3 different brains, right? I look from obviously a writer's brain, all of these brains being a nerd brain. And I look at it from
nerd brain spans all.
I look at it from a filming perspective. And then I also really look at it from like, what are the social mores that are happening in the episode? And for me, like, you had a lot of good filming, like the beginning first couple of minutes going back and forth of doing what happened previously, what was happening now, to really get across like the whole day with Penny, how this completely jumps off from the phone call after the last episode. And she's on there and she's really trying to be honest. She's like, I live a crazy life. He's an alien. He's a space alien.
Tutor alien.
He's
Things
my
happen.
space alien, and he's in my life. And all I can do is be honest with you. And
Penny is typical Black woman, like, okay, side eye. But then she's also typical, but you're cute though, which is how we always get in trouble.
That, you know what? Look, but you called it. You called it though, because when the
most realistic thing ever.
When the cops came in, and she started realizing that maybe she wasn't joking, and maybe she's not crazy. Maybe this is real, and she's cute. Like, I gotta give it props. Like, the imaginary Penny was completely different. Imaginary virtual reality Penny was like, yo, I gotta go.
Peace.
I'm out. Real life Penny, if this is real life Penny, I put that caveat in there. We don't know what's about to happen in the next episode. Real life Penny was like, so how do I not burn this bridge? Because she really is cute though. And we was just starting to make eyes at each other. And so maybe after this is over and I process this, I might want to see her again. And she was like, do you mind if I call an Uber? Also, go for Uber and the name drop and the branding right smack in the middle of Doctor Who.
Right. Which I'm like, do they not have Lyft in the UK? Because come on, we know what Uber's doing, but also get your money in. I guess you need some good press, and being name dropped on Who is the best press you're gonna get right now.
Right now.
But yeah, Penny. I want to say I am Penny, but that's not true. Penny is who I want to be. Like, even imaginary Penny was like, I gotta go. And she was just like, bye. Hopefully real life Penny was more diplomatic, but she was still like, you know what? This seems like a lot. It seems like you got a lot going on. I got a lot going on. Like, I gotta wake up in the morning, which is a lot for me. I gotta
be somewhere.
I gotta go feed my cat. You know what I mean? Like, she was just like but all of what's going on leads to me not being here when the president or the head of the UN shows up. Like, that is my cue. Like, I'm in college, I'm in university, or whatever Penny's doing. She's like, I am not in the place in my life where I need to be in the same room as the Secretary General to the UN. Just doesn't.
Nope.
So I'm gonna, if it's cool with you, I'm gonna call an Uber, and we can talk about this later. I'd love to hear how this all works out. Sounds like it'll be a great story to hear
later,
as participating in it.
Not my cup of tea.
Not my cup. Not yet. No.
I'm not here for this. So yeah, Penny was not about that. Penny was like, look, I done done a lot of crazy shit in my life, and like right now, like we was making googly eyes, and I feel you, and I was really trying to feel you, but like I also have to give props like at that joke. That reminds me of the doctor when Bill was like, so how'd last night go? Oh, Prime Minister of the UN came in. He was like, awesome. And he's like, no, for real though. The Prime Minister of the UN came in. He was like, great, because I was not following the innuendo. I was like, oh, did they acknowledge this? Get to have sex? Oh, look at the progressiveness.
He was like, I don't. I was actually making the joke because last episode, Bill was like, if on some rare occasion I am on a date, what I need you to not do is put the Pope in my bedroom. And he was like, okay, got it. And I had made the comment. I was like, but the doctor will be like, oh, but here's the queen. Oh, you didn't say nothing about not bringing the queen in. You said Pope. She's not the Pope. She's the queen. You know what I mean?
Talk about him just jumping into people's bedrooms, because this is not the first time he's done that. He just magically appears in people's bedrooms. Like, that's actually kind of sketch.
That is so, come on. We need some, vampire-y. You must be invited in.
He has appeared in at least 3 bedrooms that I know of.
Can you call? Can you call and be like, I'm on my way? I know that you have that phone that goes anywhere in the universe.
That being said.
It's a podcast, Angelique. They don't.
I know. I'm only making the face at you. Just.
Angelique made a face. Take about what you will, listeners.
Let's be real. What if Doctor Who, tangent moment. What if Doctor Who did pop into your bedroom in the TARDIS one day, and you were maybe in the middle of some good morning, get good. What do you do? How do you oh baby, I gotta go. We're going on an adventure.
You gotta go.
You say that because I know I'd be like, Doc, I need 5 minutes. Nope. 5 minutes. You have a time and relative to dimension in space. Huge.
Come back in 5.
5 minutes. You give me 5 minutes.
Wrap this up.
You know what the TARDIS is gonna be like? I told him not to come. We'll be right back. And she will just go ahead and be like, he can't leave. Don't worry.
No, because you know what? The TARDIS does that on purpose. She's like, I'm gonna make you look real stupid right now. He was probably complaining about some circuit or something, and she was like, well, you know what I'm about to do is make you look real dumb.
What's about to happen though? How this is about to go. Oh man. But that's why I love Bill.
Remember,
Like
you
Bill
don't see it.
really was not having it. She's like, why is the Pope in my bedroom?
Like right now, the Pope. But even when she was moving out, and she was like, okay, granddad, you can go now. Like the
She's
thing
26,
about Bill,
man. She's 26. She's not trying to have
26.
it.
But also, like all of the companions, like there became this moment. Like they meet him and then they're all in. And then there is some scary moment or something. And maybe it did happen a bit earlier, like in her first, like, oh shoot, you're an alien, and oh shoot, like the girl I was trying to, hook up with is now a ship. I don't know. I still don't really understand what happened there. But she very early on was like, this is my life and this is your life. And then this Venn diagram here, like this is our life together, which I feel like Clara and the Rebound Companion type of thing. But Clara tried a little bit to do, but she did it wrong. Like she was lying, and Danny Pink. Can we just take a moment for how they did? Sorry.
Did you have to bring up Danny Pink though?
About how they totally ruined his character, and by the time he died, I was like, all right, then about time.
But why did you kill Danny Pink? Like the man did a flip in the air and then landed, and he was so cute. What? I'm not over it.
So cute. But guess what? I've been watching this other British show, Death in Paradise, and he has like a little cameo in it, and he's insufferable in that too. And I'm like, what a typecast to be super cute yet super annoying. What a typecast. It wasn't Danny, the actor's fault, but they did Danny dirty the whole way through, and by the time he was gone, I was fine with it. And he can't sit with us in the black TARDIS.
I'm sorry. Y'all can't see me right now. I would take Danny Pink over Mickey. I'd take Danny Pink. Like, look, look, if you want to go through looks? And we want to talk about... No, we're just talking about smart. We're talking about aspirational. Like, look, I hear you. Danny was a little annoying. He had his moment. But Danny was mine.
Danny said, oh, your best friend travels in space and time? You can't hang out with him. And thought he was going to get chose. But there's a time machine and space. And you want me to be here in what? Cardiff with you? Doing what?
Going to dinner? That way.
I could go to dinner on any planet. I could go to dinner on New York. And you gonna take me to Nando's? Come on, Danny.
You didn't have to go to Nando's Peri Peri, though.
I mean, I love me some Nando's.
Shout out to Nando's.
On point. I love it.
Shout out to Nando's. All their sauces.
If I had to choose between Nando's
and Derillium?
New York.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not trying to go to Derillium, though.
I'm not trying to be Riversong and go to Derillium.
Okay.
Everybody else seemed to be okay when they went to Derillium. She's the only one that had a death sentence on that planet. Wait.
All right, that's true.
Oh.
But no, I think I'm blaming Danny, but I'm actually blaming like the writers of the Danny Clara thing, which is that like, I mean, Rose just dropped Mickey like Rose did Mickey so dirty, and then even when he did come on when he was able to travel, he was
having it.
She wasn't having it. He was in the way, and he wasn't really having it. Rory was Roll Dog. Rory is my man. Rory was like, I understand all of this. I understand that you make people a danger to themselves, but I also understand and love Amy and know that I'm not competing with this. So I'm gonna be here as the nurse to pick up all the mess.
But I think each and every one of those situations is different though, right? So like Rose was
Yeah.
like unsatisfied with her life, and then really wasn't in love with the doctor. But then the doctor turned into David Tennant, and she was like, "No, but cool. You went on dates while I wasn't here. Word. So Mickey, you was out like seeing other people. Cool. So I've been seeing a spaceman, and I think everybody's real clear on that. And it's cool that you're here, but we're just friends at this point, right? But then you had Clara, who was kind of in love with Matt Smith, and then Matt Smith's doctor went bye-bye, and then you got Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the same as the Rose and 10. It's not the same as Rose and 10.
I just want to say two things because Matt is my doctor. I touched his hand when he gave me a burrito at Comic-Con. Oh, well, he didn't give me a burrito, but I touched his hand. Anyway, Capaldi's still hot. Like, he got that Silver Foxy thing. I'm in love with Capaldi.
Really?
Even though I keep wanting him to cuss because I see Malcolm Turner. I see
Really?
Malcolm Tucker. So, yeah.
Peter Capaldi?
And he's playing the guitar.
No.
He's like that hot professor.
Not doing it for me.
You know what's wrong, but it's also right.
Nope. Not doing it for me. Bill's doing it for me. I'm totally down. Like, look.
Bill's doing it for everyone. Bill had me after the first episode. She had like 8 different hairstyles, and I was like, well, no, let me rethink my entire life and how I understand myself and my sexuality, because
nope, I understand myself and my sexuality. I both think that David Tennant and Danny Pink and Pearl Mackie are all hot. I think all
all of those are true. Yeah, I do not quibble with. I was so excited for Danny Pink. I was so ready. And then they wrote him in a way.
He was whiny. But Clara was whiny. Come on.
That was the thing. And that was the thing, was like, I feel like when Clara was the impossible girl, they kind of knew who she was. And then when they solved that mystery, they were like, okay, well, what do we do with her now? But I'm like, why couldn't she have the same personality? Just like, okay. Because then she was lying. She was making excuses. She was doing all this stuff. And I was like, this don't make no sense. And I guess if you're dating someone and you're in love with someone and they lying to you, it might make you act a certain way. But then he was annoying, talking about like your best friend is a warrior and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if you and I are getting into something and I'm like, I want you to be my best friend, you don't come at them froggy the way Danny Pink did. And then from that point on, I couldn't get behind Danny. Because I was also like,
he wasn't trying to introduce her. She wasn't trying to introduce him. They wasn't trying. Look, I'll take it from the other perspective. I'm about to be a devil's advocate on you. Danny Pink didn't like the military. He didn't like things blowing up. So he didn't like warriors. Danny Pink was enlisted, which meant when he looked at somebody like the doctor who seemed to be someone who is a commissioned officer, he also had a certain animosity towards that, because in some people's minds, commissioned officers send enlisted people in to go get blown up. So one. And so he's looking at his girl that he really likes, and he's looking at this commissioned officer who seems to be giving his girl orders and doesn't understand the autonomy of it. He's like, I don't like this dude. This dude is going to get my girl blown up or the world blown up, and I know this type of dude. And this dude is not honest. And Danny Pink can smell a lie. And so although I do not agree with the way that Danny Pink's tactics rolled off, I think at the end of the day, Danny was scared. Danny really loved Clara. Danny really wanted his girl not to die. And he was a little off-put because Clara wasn't trying to introduce him to the doctor. Like, the only reason they got introduced is because magically he's at the school trying to save the world, which is generally how this all happens. But you
can take that exact same thing and apply it to Rory. And because Rory had the whole, you don't understand what you make people do. You don't understand how you're a danger to people because they want to impress you. He stood up to the doctor and then was also like, but Amy ain't gonna stop traveling with you. So I gotta figure out how to save my girl and let this roll. And Danny didn't have that. And it's not Danny, the actor's fault.
But
we are so far away from this episode right now.
But I make a point, just to be on the record. Rory had known about the doctor since Rory was a kid. Amy had been his best friend his entire life. He knew her inside and out. He was already accustomed to Amy's crazy.
To the Raggedy Man.
To Raggedy Man, to Amy's crazy. He'd already embraced the fact that he was marrying a woman who believed in an invisible dude. Rory was kind of halfway, felt a little bit better. The dude wasn't invisible. Like, let's be real. Nobody wants to acknowledge this, but your wife's and your future wife's invisible best friend, who you've been competing with your entire life, so now you're used to the competition, is actually not invisible. Okay, word. And the doctor at the time was much more accommodating to Rory than Capaldi had been to Danny.
Yes.
He was literally was like, who is this idiot? He's a gym teacher. He's not smart. Blah, 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 blah. And when you look at Matt was like, yo, so we're going to Venice. We're going to find some vampires. Happy wedding. You have your own room. Right? So it was like, it was just a different. Anyway, so Bill Potts is dope and fine as hell.
True. And her hair game and that coat she was wearing last like the way she could switch from that coat to that that just casual streetwear.
I need that coat.
Where'd she get that coat from?
I need that coat. Like
Hot Topic. I know you got them licenses or whatever. Torrid. I know you got them licenses.
Make the coat, man.
Give me that coat.
I bought the Harley Quinn bomber.
Legions of Black Hoovians rocking that coat. Like, say something. Say something.
Wait,
90 degrees in San Diego, and I'm gonna be rocking that coat. And she's fluffing her hair. Whoo!
Yeah, she's doing.
Bill Potts is amazing. She's so great that she will put on a space helmet and her fro still glistens.
It's her. She has a magical fro.
Helmet hair in sight.
The magical fro of Bill Potts.
Magical.
You know, I own 2 pairs of them Vans, though. Why are you joking? I own 2 pairs of those Vans.
No. Well, look at that.
So
nice. Connie, our co-star, saw when they announced Bill, was like, so this cosplay is happening for Comic-Con last year, and then realized pretty quickly as she's walking the streets of New York that people are like, nice Bill cosplay, and she's like, well, this is just my life, though.
Right. My friends are like, but did she just go in your closet? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm loving it. Every last minute of it. Do it. It's cool. Like, I already have that print shirt. Like, I totally have like 2 jean jackets and a pair of black jeans that are ripped. And I love Vans. I just need to get the right color Vans and bomber jackets all the time. What?
Always. Why not? I found a patch. It's a Firefly patch, but it'll do. I have that patch. I'm gonna get a Ravenclaw patch. My jean jacket game is gonna really step up. It's not gonna be. I'm not gonna reach Bill levels, right? But there's nothing wrong in the pursuit.
No, nothing.
I feel like the pursuit is gonna make me better. So. But back to my original point was just that I really appreciated that Bill very early on, and yeah, she's 26, but she's like, I still like, this is amazing, and I'm not by any means like trying to not have all of these experiences, but there's still like growing up experiences as a 26-year-old that I need to have that will not if you were here because of who you are. Right. And then I think too, after her first 2 adventures with the doctor, when she tries to move into that house with her schoolmates, she's like, there's no mystery here. It's just a creaky old house. Not everything has a monster. I mean, she was completely wrong.
Absolutely.
Totally wrong. But the need and the urge for some sense of, and I think that kind of informs how she reacted when she found out last episode that it wasn't real life, was like, she needs to have some sort of like, this is like this, okay, this is also real, but this is a lot. But then this is also like, this day to day is also real.
Yeah.
And I'm still navigating that. And I feel like of all of the at least new Who companions, we haven't had someone that like, I don't want to say level-headed, but that like in touch with themselves.
Yeah,
that
I mean, she's
she's
trying to
still
draw a line.
learning a lot. Right, right. And I feel like we haven't had that, and I really appreciate that. It kind of makes me a little bit sad that I feel like, I mean, just the way, I mean, we can, there's a Martha episode somewhere that needs to, but like Martha was never given that. And like out of all of the other companions, she was, I think, the most equipped to draw that line. Like she had her own career, she had her own family, but then somehow they're like, she's in love with Tennant, which, I mean, he's got great hair.
He does
So,
have really
okay.
great hair and tan shoes.
Yeah, he's got a great smile. I see it. But I like that with Bill. I'm a little annoyed that like, oh, she's a lesbian, therefore there is no sexual tension, which I think is bullshit. But I like that Bill is the one now that is like, we need to draw a line. We need to have some separation. So.
Well, and I think also this has helped it out a little bit because he's actually supposed to be on Earth doing something that he's not doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about the lack of Missy in this episode?
I don't really have any thoughts. It was interesting because I was just thinking about what's going on back on campus, what's going on, and he was in his office when the episode started, right? So let's also like contemplate this. Mm-hmm. Like he was in his office, in the TARDIS, he so thought, until suddenly he was on a plane on his way to a pyramid in the middle of everything, right? Mm-hmm. So again, if this episode is real and another shoe doesn't drop and this really isn't another simulation and they really haven't like tricked the entire world and they really haven't moved anywhere anyway, he just confessed to Missy that he's blind. But if you look at the previews, she's coming back. Like he is going straight for her to get help.
Well, because at the end of the episode, he's no longer blind.
Which, can we talk about the fact that Bill sold out the world for a set of eyes? Can we?
But this is where Bill is like, okay, to me, it's like Donna Noble has been my companion, even though Matt is my doctor. I'm all very confused. But this is where Bill like just jumped the shark because I think she was thinking, I am ostensibly, like the monk said, you speak for the doctor, so you have power, right? So I can make this deal. But the thing that she tells the doctor is she goes, you got your eyesight back, save my planet. So I think she was thinking on two different levels. Like, okay, I can make this deal, but you can break it because you didn't make this deal. Right? That, I don't know how that plays out. I don't know if that was the right choice. But I do know that when they did the whole thing out of love, like she really loves him and she wants him to have his eyesight back. But somewhere deep in her love of him and in her trust of him is that the doctor firing on all syllables will fix this. So it's fine. That's what I got from it.
This is what my hope is this doesn't turn into the Utopia Sound of the Drums last of the timelines. Like I need this not to be that. And that's the only worry in looking at the new previews is that there's some kind of thing that's under someone's sleeve somewhere, but who knows? Like, honestly, who knows?
Yeah. So we do Bill Phil's here, and I feel like we should just go straight into like how we feel about Bill's portrayal in this episode. I want to go all the way back to when she's like making eyes at Penny and the police and the security general of the UN come banging on her door. I felt like that reaction was so genuine and so realistic for who she is and where she is and like her whole identity. She was like,
yeah, yeah, agreed.
I'm a standstill. Y'all tell me what to do. Like even when she put her hands on the table, her hands were like kind of hovering over the table. Like she looked terrified. But also, like, half of her knew that this was doctor related, but half of her was still just like, I am who I am, and this is not comfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. I think the funny thing is, in my personal perspective, I kind of liked Penny's reaction better, because Penny was like, did you just, I just want to go on a date. Like, what? All I said is, damn, I was just talking about going to the bedroom. How does this keep happening to me? Like, she just literally had to look at her face like, never again. Not doing this again.
Not gonna happen.
Nope.
Penny, I want to be the Rory / Danny Pink of this season arc. I mean, it's kind of late now, but we're keeping Bill. Do you hear that, BBC? You hear that, Moffat? You hear that, whoever new showrunner is? We're keeping her. Try take her from us. Try. Just you. I will fly to Cardiff or wherever. We're keeping her. And then keeping Bill, I want some more Penny. Because Penny is the truth.
Penny's hot. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm just going to be the one on the show that's going to make that happen.
Penny's hot.
Penny is hot. Her hair is on point. That dress was solid. You know, her coat on the outside when she was walking. I paid a lot of attention to Penny. Like, Penny had it going on.
Penny is one of those people where even in the first episode when you're like, oh, they're on a date or whatever, you're looking at her. Like, you're looking at her react. Like, you know that she's not the main, like, you should be looking at, and there's not to say that I am not looking at Bill, because I'm definitely looking at Bill, but she doesn't fade into the background at all. And I hope that they recognize that.
Yeah. There's a lot of strong women
unlike
characters.
Nardole.
No, there's a lot of strong women characters coming out in Who this season, which I'm really excited about. And I know I'd mentioned earlier that there was one of the main characters of the episode was a little person, which I also think like has very strong, very smart. Like, doctor was like, "What are you doing after this? You need a job." And usually like, "Do you need a job? Come work for me. Come work for me."
Because also she was strong, competent, and I mean, I do love the fact that they didn't make a big deal out of it, because in the context of the story, right, this is her job. She comes in every day. Like, if you're at this point and it's like her and that dude who was hungover and should have called in sick, save us a lot of trouble. But if you're working in a place like that, like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, are you still going to be commenting on the fact that they're a little person? Like, no, you know? And the doctor shows up and she was just like, who are you? You here to help? We don't really have time for all of this, so let's go. You know, like, it was just, she was very, very competent, and I really liked her. And I forgot her name, but Erica. I do hope she shows up tonight. Erica. She's good.
Yeah, she was good. But yeah, but no, and I think, you know, just it's interesting, and you're right. I absolutely agree with you. I've said it once, I'll say it again. They need to keep Bill. I don't want Bill to be a one-season runner. I think she has the ability to be a multiple-season runner. I don't, just because we know we're losing Capaldi, want there to be the necessity for us to also lose her. And that really comes from the fact, like, one, like, this is not just, it's not just Bill in and of itself as the character and as the amazing, strong, witty, funny, sometimes problematic, queer Black woman from the UK. Like, honestly, it also boils down to the fact that Pearl herself is really, really amazing. She is able to go in and really break down a lot of things. Like, when announcing that Bill was going to be queer, one, she's being really true to that. She's being really honest and true and flawed and problematic, and you can tell in the scenes that she's actually interested in, man, she's gorgeous. I'm sorry, I'm rewatching the first part of the scene, but you can really tell she's really interested in Penny as a character, which can sometimes be hard, but also just her statement where she's like, yeah, people are Black, people are queer, Bill is Black and queer. Okay.
Yeah.
Love is love. Let's move on.
It reminds me too of like the so I keep talking about this quote because this quote was like so important to me. The actor that played the adult in Moonlight, the adult kid, said that in telling a story so specific, you end up telling a universal story because you strip away all of the like, or you don't strip away, but like you don't ignore all of the identities that go into making what makes a person, and in doing and in keeping all of that, and not making statements about it, but just writing it as it is what it is, right? Like Bill is a Black queer woman, being raised by like she's got a foster mother who it seems like she's still in the closet with, like she has all of these things, but by acknowledging them, you're able to say like, okay, well, as a straight Black woman in America with a fully intact family, I also have a bunch of things, and so I'm going to approach these situations in a way. And you're not, I feel like when people make such a big deal out of it or always commenting on it, besides the, like I loved in Thin Ice when she was like, they're in Victorian England and she's like, wait a second, melanin. Because that's something that, you know what I mean? Like that is something that you need to acknowledge.
Yeah. No,
right?
So like, amazing.
And like we do that in 2017 to this day. Like you go somewhere and you're like, but how is this melanin? Am I okay? Like, am I, you know what I mean? Like queer people do that all the time. Like, yes, you can kind of hide queerness to a certain extent, but like they want to know when they're traveling places, like, are they safe? You know what I mean? Like it is a part of daily life. You know what I mean? And so to not do that, like I feel like they did with the Shakespeare Code, which was Martha was like, am I cool? And the doctor's like, what? Yeah, of course you're cool. And it's like, no, of course she's not cool. Like, no. You know? And so to like acknowledge those things and make those things known, I think helps make her more relatable to other people, right? Because if you're traveling with an alien, you're going to have questions. And if you are a certain way, you're going to, like anyone, you're going to be worried about your safety. You're going to be worried about how people are going to interact with you, how you need to interact with them. And so I think that with Bill, and the reason why they need to keep her is because it also allows for the doctor and whoever the doctor is to maintain that sense of empathy. And I mean, he's always really cared about his companions and his companions' well-being. But I felt like with Tennant and Martha, he didn't. He treated her like he treated Rose in certain ways, right? Like he never was like, okay, let's talk about what you might expect or experience. Like even the whole family of blood thing, like let's go hide, not in the future or in the present day where you're able to better walk around as a Black woman in society. Let's go hide in the 30s where you're going to be subject to microaggressions, where you're going to be subject to racism. Like, I feel like Capaldi's doctor wouldn't do that.
Well, as a note, by the way, the girl who plays Penny, this is a side note to add into this whole conversation, how much we love her, is also on Chewing Gum.
Really? Is she in the first season too?
She is in.
I haven't seen the second season.
She's in the first season. Okay. And I was like, I know this woman's face. Why do I know this woman? She's in Chewing Gum. But yeah, no, I hear you. It all boils down to the writers. Like, let's be real. Everything you really just said really boils down to the writers and the perspective that they're given. And, it just does. And I think there's a higher standard now. And I think also, like, think back to the statement where he goes, I don't know the president. I wouldn't even have voted for the president. He's orange.
Right.
Like, word?
Right.
That
is in my quotes. He's orange. She said it. Like, and
great.
It's great. So another Bill fill that I had was when she says, when they're trying to get her to cooperate or something, I don't know, after the monks are trying to say, like, you speak for the president. She's like, I'm nobody. That, like, kind of really reminded me of Donna, and that not
and Clara.
And Clara too. Yeah, I guess it's a companion thing, but it's like, one, we're not buying it. You are definitely not nobody. I want to know if they touch back on that because it happens towards the end of the episode, and they don't really, the monks say you're you are the confidant, or you speak for the president of the earth, which is basically saying you're friends with the doctor. Of course you're somebody, right? But I want I want to touch back on that. I think they did it really well. This is why I brought up Donna. I think they did it really well with Donna and like Turn Left, which people may or may not like, but I really liked, which was like, you and your choices and what you do has a huge impact on everything. And that is true of everyone. And injecting some confidence, because even when the doctor asked Bill if she wants him to tutor her, she kind of has that, like, I serve chips, I don't even go here, like, why, you know what I mean? Like, but she obviously wants to. She has these like ambitions and these goals, and she's inquisitive as hell, but she doesn't have this confidence. And I really want to make sure, or I really hope that they start to explore that. I don't know if we have enough time. I don't know what's going on with the rest of, the season, which is another reason why we need to keep Bill, because they're setting these, they're planting these seeds, and I want them to turn into something.
We shall see if they do it the right way. I mean, here's the thing: you got to water the seeds. You can't just come back to them later on and just decide that this was nice. We should go back to that.
Right.
Much like Darillium.
Right. Much like Darillium.
So one of my favorite episodes ever.
There are plenty of examples of Doctor Who dropping the ball on something that they've done. I mean, that is like a television thing, and I'm thinking about Harry Potter and the whole house elf thing, which I don't know how much into Harry Potter you are, but like, you set something up and then you just drop it and you don't do a good job with it, and it's so unsatisfying. It's like deeply unsatisfying. And in terms of Harry Potter and the house elf, it's actually very problematic and dangerous. But I think we got that from Donna in a way, and we got it from Clara. But Clara had a career by the time she met the doctor. And we kind of got it with Rose, but I just don't really mess with Rose. But like with Martha knew, like, she was a doctor. She had ish going on. Like, she, whenever like confronted with things, she had the sense of confidence in herself. And I just want to see, and I'm interested in how they'll do that with a character of color who is not accomplished the way that Martha was.
It is a good question. And I don't know. I think they did it with Rose. I know you don't want to talk about Rose, but I think Rose was a case where, she was a store clerk. Nothing against being a store clerk, but it's not like she was in medical school or had a triple PhD or was a forensic archaeologist. She was in medical school. And so we shall see. I think I'm just watching Bill's hair. I'm sorry. We're rewatching the episode. It's so good. But I really think that we're going to be surprised at Bill's origin. I think I want it to be more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
So that it makes more sense. Also, that just brings me back to the thought about why Bill never made any statements about the doctor randomly being in a picture with her mom, but we'll leave that alone. You remember that, right?
I think she figured it out.
I mean, but she never figured it out, and then she was surprised.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where she figured him out, like, and he didn't say anything, right?
No.
And that kind of confirmed, like, she figured out who he was in that moment, and so didn't need to say anything.
Huh. I like that.
I don't know.
I didn't see it from that perspective, but you're talking about personality-wise. He figured out what kind of. Yeah.
Because she came over, she gave him like Christmas gifts, and then he was like, oh, humans do this. And then the next thing you know, she's got this box of pictures that she said meant a lot to her, but he didn't give them to her as like, here's my gift to you, right? He just let her find them. And I think in the way that he did that, and then when she saw his picture and or she saw his reflection in there, she was like, okay, I understand. All right, so I don't want this episode to go longer than the actual episode. Any final thoughts from the TARDIS? What are you looking forward to for next week? What are your
So I think I said it earlier. Like, I don't want this to turn into Utopia / Sound of the Drums / I'm going to travel around the world and do some mystic thing that tricks the enemy into believing a certain thing because the power of the thought is more.
We all say the doctor at the same time, and then that's science. I hated that.
Like, I can't. Like, no, please do not do that to me. Not saying I don't like those episodes. Just saying you got one time. Like, you got one.
Yeah.
You got
Get
one
it.
time for
Can't do it
digital
again.
mind thought hacking. I really am excited to see how Missy, because I think first we're gonna have to have a rewind. Like, next week is going to involve a scene where they rewind and make you, and he's gonna pinpoint out things to us that happen because it's going to be necessary. And you're talking about someone's taking over the world. Someone is going to shoot the doctor. Missy's coming back. You got to kill the person who made the. Oh, it just made all the sense in the world. Never mind. I'm excited about next week.
You gonna share, or are you gonna keep that to yourself?
Yo, I just thought about it. So, they said you have the right to make an agreement on behalf of the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The person that needs to get killed for the consent to be pulled away is not Bill. Bill made the agreement on behalf of the doctor. The doctor
Yeah,
has
that's
to
what
die.
that's why I said at the end, she says, "You have your eyesight back, now give me back my planet."
Yo, I'm mad.
Like,
My
she
light
knew.
just went off. My light just went off.
Yeah, she knew, and I think that's why she because she asked. She didn't ask for them to save the planet. She asked for them to give him his eyesight back, which they took as, if he can do this, he can stop this catastrophe, therefore saving the planet. Bill is smart. She asked all them questions and her brain be working.
Oh no. Word. Okay, I'm sorry. That's all. I'm looking so much forward to next week.
Yeah. All right. So I want to end. We end with like quotes from the doctor. These are just a few that we kind of touched on, and I'm going to run through them really fast because we're coming up on time and my computer's dying. But I don't know the president. Why would I know the president? I wouldn't have even voted for him. He's orange. Great quote. It chose to sit on the strategic intersection of three of the most powerful armies on Earth. It's sending a message. What message? Bring it. What are you doing? Bringing it. Is it a threat? I wish it was. Threats are easy. This is a warning. And then when he brings together all of the military men, he says, World War III, what do you think? Basically, we're against it. So those are some of my favorite quotes from this episode. Do you have any that stood out to you?
No, number one was my absolute and complete favorite part of it. I absolutely loved it.
I wouldn't have voted for him. He's orange. All right. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Time and Relative Blackness in Space. You can check us out at blackgirlscreate.org. You can read Connie's writing at the New York Daily News. You can read Angelique all over the internet. She has a great series on Black Girl Nerds. Any place we should send people to really for you?
Right now, no. Just started. I got my own website, angeliqueroche.com. You can see all the ways to hit me up on the interwebs. And I'm finally working on the end of this book. And so that's the major priority for this year. So hopefully you will hear more from me
book coming near you. Yes, we'll be watching out for it. So you can follow us at We Black and Nerds. You can follow Connie at Constar24, Angelique Roche, Roche, and hashtag Tarbus. Join our Slack channel our Slack team where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who and all the other things. And thank you again for listening. Join us next week when we discuss episode 8, The Lie of the Land, and try to get some answers to all of the questions that this episode brought up. Thanks again, Angelique, so much for stepping in as a co-host. I hope it's not the last time. You're amazing.
Thank
I haven't
you.
said that
This was
enough.
so much fun.
Yeah, and we will talk to you guys next week.
The black girls have the box.